Well, hey, been a couple of weeks. Wanted to give another update here after, kind of my big news about what's going on, and a little more of what I've learned and what to expect. For one, yeah, there won't be so many updates, especially over the next few months, and I'll explain why here in a little bit. But I did have my first initial meeting with the surgeon. He was the same surgeon who I saw at the initial seminar. He went over the three different types of surgery options. So I met with him, met with a coordinator regarding like insurance and whatnot. So basically, what was recommended based on my history, my health history. We've actually recommended not to go with the gastric bypass. Rather, actually, a newer procedure. It's been around for, I don't know. I think he said something like 6-7 years or so. Maybe, don't quote me on it. But it's actually gastric sleeve, where if you're not familiar with the procedures, gastric bypass, they're going to cut at the top of your stomach, leaving only a pouch about the size of an egg, bringing your portion of your small intestines up, connecting it. Basically, it's a big bypass, but your stomach still stays. The rest of your stomach stays intact for your stomach enzymes. Once once the food gets into the initial part of your small intestines, your stomach enzymes will also go down there to help digest. So rather than that procedure, what I'm actually with the sleeve, they're taking the stomach and just cutting away at the large additional portion, where they've size-wise, I said, my stomach about the size of a football. It's going to go now to about the size of a banana. No bypassing, nothing else really. They're just going to cut that section off and remove the additional stomach. The reason that they said that they were going to go with this option versus their traditional bypass is because I really only have two major health concerns. I mean, only two health concerns sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but sleep apnea is my big one, as well as high blood pressure. I thankfully do not have any issues with diabetes. I do not have any issues with cholesterol. So because of that, whereas those are my only two main issues, we're going to go ahead and actually just go with the sleeve option. It is a little bit less of a risk, which is good. It is also slightly faster in recovery time, which is nice. And it's he says just as effective, but when I've researched it, I mean, it's more effective than the gastric band, but not quite as effective as full-on gastric bypass. I will have to do very specific food restrictions before and especially after the surgery. But I will not be so restrictive to where, if you've heard of dumping syndrome, I will have far less of a risk of that, because we're not rerouting my system, so to speak. We're simply just cutting down the size of my stomach. So it'll still be laparoscopically, and he suggests probably a week and a half of recovery time, which is good for me, because I think if I were at home for more than that, I'd probably just go stir crazy. So that's the plan. Now, after I met with the surgeon, I met with the coordinator, who then kind of went over kind of the nuts and bolts of insurance and getting it approved. Thankfully, it will be. I mean, it's not something that should be an issue getting approved. We'll have some requirements they'll have to do. They'll have to do full blood tests, EKG, I think ECG, a couple of additional procedures. I will have to have a psychological examination. But the big thing, and this is probably why, like I said, you're not going to see too many updates from me, is I will have to go under a 6-month, they're not calling it a diet, but basically a weight loss program. So like I said, I've done Weight Watchers, as you guys may very well know. I had done Weight Watchers for years. Unfortunately, I haven't done anything really in the last year or two. And insurance, if I were already on Weight Watchers for about 6 months, just recently, then I probably would have gotten that approved. But it has to be very recent. So, and because of that, instead, I'm going to go in and actually do this with the surgical group. They have their own program, which is approved. I meet with them once a month. So that's, like I said, it's going to be pretty quiet for the most part for the next 6 months. I'll still do updates, but I probably won't do it more than monthly, or like I said, I may hop on once in a while if I feel like it. Really won't start ramping up until the 6 months are up. So theoretically, and I can start the 6 months this month in February. So theoretically, we're looking at like an August, maybe September time frame for the surgery. Because like I said, once the 6 months are up, then, in the meantime, I'll do all the other necessary requirements, and then we'll go ahead and submit for insurance. So that will happen probably, like I said, sometime in July, give or take. So then we'll get the approval. Once we get the approval, then we go into prep work for the surgery, which is usually about 2 or 3 weeks. We'll schedule it, but then there'll be like very specific diets and specific foods that I'll have to have at the time. So like I said, once we get closer to that, I'll go into that, because right now it's just not necessary 6 months out. So it's still going on. I still have a whole bunch of support from everybody, all of my family, all of my friends. I appreciate the comments so far that I've gotten on the first video regarding this. I'm really excited to do this. I'm still excited. Nervous, yeah, maybe a little. But it's still too far out for me. I mean, that's probably why. If it was something like where I was going to go and have it done tomorrow, I'd probably be a bit more nervous, understandably so. But that's really about it. I haven't really done much as far as weighing in. Unfortunately, especially this past week or two, I went on a kind of a extended trip with Ryan and Scarlett back home to my family in Ohio. So diet-wise, this was kind of out the window. But we're definitely working on trying to eat better, make better decisions. Ryan's actually been doing really well herself with, she's just trying to do a conscious effort as well, making better decisions. And that's one thing too, which we're both excited about once we get closer for me to this surgery, where, we know that there will be very strict restrictions that I'll have to be on. We're going to try and do as much as we can ahead of time, of course. But at that time, we know that there will certain things I can and cannot have. So we're both going to really stick to that at the same time, because if it's not something that I shouldn't eat, we're going to try and avoid all of us eating it. I mean, Scarlett, will take care of her. She's doing fine. But it'll be good for all of us, because then she will be following a similar meal plan, as far as like what types of foods and whatnot that I am. So I think it's going to be a big help for all of us. So that's it. Actually, my first meeting, first of the 6 meetings that I have, is actually this Tuesday, the 25th, I think. I'll have to look at a calendar. Anyway, so that's my first one. So I may post something in the next week or two. I've been really, really busy, with the trip and everything. So I'll definitely try and post as often as I can. But that's the first of the 6, and then that one will be one where I actually meet a little bit more one-on-one with a nutritionist, among a few other things as well. So on top of that, forgot to mention too, we are going to join, I think I mentioned this before, we're going to be going this week to sign up and join the local rec center, so we can all get active as well. So I'm more excited than anything, not so much for the gym, more so for the pool. Because I could go and hop in the pool, and I could swim laps for an hour and be perfectly happy. I love being in the pool, and I love swimming. I'll definitely be in the gym, of course, as well, doing other things. But I really look forward to doing that and getting all of us more active. And we've got a friend of ours in the neighborhood who she's going to sign up with us as well. So we're all going to go. So really looking forward to that for all of our sakes. Just not only for the health aspect, but it gives us something else to do. Because it feels like a lot of times with our commute that we have, you know, Ryan and I are on the road at 6:30. We get back home at 6 o'clock, and we're just tired, and we don't feel like we want to do anything. So, you know, we whip up something for dinner, sit down, and kind of, you know, veg out for the rest of the night. So we're going to avoid that, and hopefully 2-3 times a week, we're going to, just as soon as we get home, grab our stuff, head out to the rec center, and then go. Unfortunately, the place that we're going to doesn't have daycare, but Ryan's mom lives nearby, so she's going to watch her for us, which is nice. But anyway, enough rambling. That's what we're doing, and I really look forward to keeping you guys up to date on that, and then really looking forward to, you know, what happens here in the summer. Like I said, you know, August, September time frame is what we're looking at, and yeah, it'll be here before you know it. Appreciate it, guys. Take it easy.